It's time for another episode of Tucson Means Business, featuring Tucson's top entrepreneurs and leaders in the business world. And now your host, Mark Bishop.
Welcome once again, everybody, to another Tucson Means Business. We are going to meet some interesting people today, and of course the show brought to you by the one and only 49ers Golf and Country Club here in Tucson. Tucson's hidden gem, both from a golf course point of view and the fabulous Rincon Grill that now features the brand new executive chef, Mackenzie Taylor, who is also the food and beverage manager. And boy, that place has turned around like you wouldn't believe. It was already good, but people are now raving, okay? So keep it in mind you're visiting Tucson or you live here. Get out there more and enjoy it. It's wonderful. Okay, I got three very interesting guests today. I'd call them interesting. Well and truly, my first is a fellow by the name of Clint Parry. He has a passion for business growth and personal development. In his current role as a business development manager for Focus HR, he helps small business owners accelerate their growth through HR outsourcing. And it's a big welcome, Clint, to Tucson Means Business.
Well, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you having us.
All right. You've got a company that's creating waves here in town. It's getting some great results for people. So we're going to find out exactly what you're doing in that world, because it is different out there today, what it was yesterday. And clients are looking for people that have got more skills than ever, haven't they? Just about.
Yeah, well, they're just having a hard time finding people, period.
They're having a hard time. Tim Medkoff, well, he's co-managing partner with Farhang and Medkoff. They're one of the echelons of law firms here in Tucson, managing partner, a highly reputable law firm. He grew up really in a biracial household in Alaska. And I don't meet people from Alaska every day originally, and where his parents stressed the importance of education. Is that right, Tim?
They certainly did, which is why I decided to get multiple degrees instead of just one.
All right. Okay. Yeah, okay. Raymond, how are your degrees doing?
Oh, not so many degrees. But it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, welcome, Tim, and welcome, Ray. Now, this gentleman, Raymond, he is a hypnotist instructor, a hypnosis instructor, I should say, a consulting hypnotist, and a certified hypnosis instructor, and a therapist. That's better, isn't it?
Yes.
I get those three all mixed up. We're going to dive into those. You have to promise me, May, that you're not going to, put us all under some sort of a spell.
No, that's quite all right.
Have us dancing around like chooks or one another, those types of things. Welcome, gentlemen, on a muggy day in Tucson, because it's now monsoon time, isn't it?
It sure is.
Right.
Except we're not getting much rain, are we?
No.
Always use more.
Not getting a lot, but we could always use more. My word, we could. Clint, your career actually began at Xerox Corporation. Huge corporation, aren't they? You helped grow Xerox's document outsourcing services business there by adding over $4 million in annual recurring revenue. Was that a sales and marketing role, or do you see it as something different?
Yeah, it really was a sales and marketing role. Of course, in some ways, it was really about helping companies really find, looking at sort of a business process outsourcing sort of approach. So, we were there to try to help them find a better way of managing the massive amounts of paper that they had flowing through their organization. And so that was really my entree into the whole outsourcing world.
Okay. Must have been Xerox. I mean, they're a huge corporation.
Yeah, a massive corporation. Of course, I was here in Tucson, so we had a decent-sized operation, but of course, global organization. But amazing company to start a career with, phenomenal training. They're really world-renowned for their training, and so I was really blessed to have that opportunity.
You left Xerox, though. It must have been for a pretty good reason.
I did. I had one of those entrepreneurial seizures, I think that's what they're called, and decided to strike out on my own. Started bought actually a business coaching franchise called Action Coach, and had that license franchise here for 5 years. So coached dozens of different business owners, hundreds of business owners, really, if you look at the total over that 5-year period. And so it was a great opportunity, a great run, and just learned a fortune.
I guess you would have, because these are all stepping stones to where you are now. I think it was over 300 or something business owners that I researched. That's a lot of people. What was your role then at Lappin International before Focus? And what do you think you learned from working with the execs of these Fortune 500 companies?
Yeah, so it was quite a different role because Action Coach, I was working with small business owners, and at Lappin, I was working with executives of Fortune 500 companies. And so quite a different role and different experience altogether. But, it's interesting, big businesses are just small businesses growing up. They still have a lot of the same issues, believe it or not, just amplified and magnified a lot of time. So for my opportunity there was really to work in the world of HR, worked with a lot of HR leaders in leadership development, strategy consulting, executive coaching. So that really got me heavily exposed to the HR world, I'd say.
I'd say it would. Well, something a little different here. You enjoyed working as a columnist for Inside Tucson Business on the Daily Star. It's a bit of journalistic work there.
I did. That was at my Action Coach days where I had an opportunity to write, and I really enjoyed that because it was just working with a lot of business owners and different range of topics. So that gave me a chance to write about it, talk about it, and hopefully add some value to the business community.
Well, I might mention here too that as well that Clint was recognized as one of Tucson's 40 under 40, holds a bachelor's degree in business from BYU and an MBA from the University of Arizona's Eller School of Business. You proud of all that brain stuff?
Well, I do my best. No, it's not great opportunities. Enjoy the time there at the universities, and just love now actually activating that in real life, and I love the game of business.
Well, there you do. You better love that to be in it the way you are. It's another world. Ray, different from your world, isn't it?
Yes, a little bit.
Slightly. But you're gifted in another way, my friend, which is helping people. Tim Medkoff, as I mentioned, is the managing partner of Farhang and Medkoff. First in your family to attend college, Tim.
Yes, I was. It was something that my parents instilled in me at a very young age. My father enlisted in the Army and met my mother in Vietnam during the conflict and brought her back over to the States. I was born shortly thereafter, and at a very young age, both of my parents instilled in me the importance of getting a good education. Neither of them had got much of an education. My mother only a couple years of formal school, and my dad liked to joke he barely graduated from high school. So they instilled that at an early age, and I pursued it aggressively, and it's opened a lot of doors for me and given me an opportunity to make a difference and give back to our community.
Well, you're motivating studiers at the moment who could listen to this show, and you earned a BA cum laude, right, from UCLA, and a JD cum laude from the University of Arizona. JD?
The law degree.
Juris
Doctorate.
Juris Doctorate, that's right. I couldn't think of it. Congratulations, Tim. You've done well for yourself. Through dedication and hard work, you started and expanded your law firm while striking a fine balance between work and family. That's amazing to do all of that. The firm reflects Tim's belief that clients deserve representation to the fullest extent of an attorney's abilities. So raising a young family at the same time must have been a challenge.
It was, but it was a conscious decision that I wanted to start my own firm, be my own business, run my own business with a good friend of mine. It helps when you got a good business partner that has your back, and I've been fortunate to marry up both professionally as well as personally, and that makes it a lot easier when you've got that support. And for me, it was about being involved in the community, being able to make a difference, and support charities, and then be involved with my kids' lives. I was at a big law firm for 10 plus years. It was a great place to learn. Much like Clint, I got a lot of training, and the firm invested a lot of money in me and taught me how to practice law the right way the first time. But for me, I looked around at my law firm. A lot of people were divorced, weren't happy. They were working too many hours and not enjoying the finer things in life. I spent a year abroad in Scotland and was able to experience life overseas, and they have a different way of approaching things, and that stuck with me when I came over here, or came back to the States, I should say. And so I wanted to be involved with my kids, remain happily married to my wife, which I am now, at least as far as I know.
Right. Well, you are for this hour anyway. You grew up in Kenai, is it Kenai?
Pronounced Kenai.
Kenai.
Yeah, Kenai, Alaska.
In Alaska, right. I've never been there yet, but I imagine a lot of people have. It's a very popular place, isn't it, to go, Alaska?
It's a great place to go fishing and the outdoors.
What was that like for you growing up there?
So for me, it was home.
Yep.
I loved it. I didn't know any better because that's the only thing I really remembered. And in the summer, it was great. My parents would basically say, stay out till you're tired because it never got dark.
Well, there's always plenty of things to do, right? From fishing to hunting to all sorts of things.
Exactly.
Very good. Now, let's look at some fun facts about you. You did play college basketball at the University of Dundee.
Yes.
And that was in Scotland. Now, you helped your mom to get her U.S. citizenship, right?
Right.
What did you do there?
So when my mother, she came over here, she didn't speak very much English. And so Vietnamese was actually my first language. And as I grew up and studied at school, she was trying to get her citizenship. So I actually helped her practice for that test by going over U.S. government issues and presidents and things of that nature so that when she took the exam, she was better prepared.
Very good. Good son. Good son.
Sometimes.
And you learned to ski after leaving Alaska, but you learned to golf after leaving Scotland. I mean, that's a bit unusual.
Yeah, it is. I've been fortunate and blessed to not be good at either one of them.
A 45 king salmon, though. You caught that. How thick was the line?
It was, I think the pound test for that line was about 30 pounds. It took me over an hour to land that bad boy.
I was going to say, it took about an hour, yeah.
It was about as tall as I was at the time. I was about 14 years old when I landed that fish.
You're a humble man. You say you married above yourself, personally and professionally.
Yes.
Refresh my memory. If you would... AV rated, I know what it is, but I just got a mental block. What's an AV rated attorney?
Basically, there's a outside company called Martindale Hubbell that rates all attorneys, and you can either be CV rated, BV rated, or AV rated. AV's the top, so A, B, C, just like the grade, and V just stands for if you're ethical or not.
Oh, well, it's nice to know we've got an ethical guy on the show. Very good. Because there are unethical lawyers, aren't there?
I've been told.
You've been told. Very diplomatic, eh? You have defended business clients in cases involving insurance claims, labor and employment law. You specialize in personal injury, product liability, and wrongful death litigation. Which is your favorite of those, if there is such a thing?
I really enjoy the labor and employment area, much like Clint. Working with small business owners to big business owners is a passion of mine. I love doing it. It's very interesting. The law is changing. And for instance, the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act and the changes that that's had. If you'd asked me 15, 20 years ago when I started practicing law, am I going to know anything about marijuana? I would have told you no.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
The law has changed quite a bit. And so it's cutting edge. And then being able to work with small and bigger business owners about the issues that they face, it brings a lot of enjoyment to me.
My third guest today, Ray Jurczyk.
Yes.
I got that right. What's the origination there, buddy?
That's Slovak.
Slovak?
Yes.
I never would have picked that. All right. So is there a story there at all to share with us?
About being Slovak?
Yeah.
Actually,
Grew
I
up
was
in where?
told I was 100% Slovak. I don't think anyone's 100% anything, really.
Right.
But both of my parents were first generation from Czechoslovakia, but from the Slovak part, of course, which is now Slovakia. And did get a chance to go over there in the 80s, and it was really quite nice. It was very interesting.
Is it what you
was
expected?
communist at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought the most interesting thing was as the guards, the custom agents were getting us through, they were asking for souvenirs, and we were all looking at each other like, we just got here. How could we have souvenirs?
Right.
They wanted souvenirs. They wanted a pair of blue jeans, something to get us through quicker, and we had no idea.
Oh, I see. I was asking you then, this must have been fascinating for you to literally go home for the first time.
Yes. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Was it what you expected?
I didn't really know what to expect. A lot more normal than I would have thought. The police was a little bit different, more like they are here now, with the grease guns and the stuff like that. I remember while we were traveling, we went into Venice, and we're in the Venice train station. Me and my sister went alone, and we're there, and we're walking around, and a Japanese lady comes over to us and asked us if we were the terrorist group. Like we look around, we see the guy with the gun. We're like, oh, my God, no. She's like, I'm the terrorist guide. I'm looking for the terrorist group. And it was just a matter of mispronunciation, but at the wrong time in the wrong place.
Oh, my God. Fair enough. Now, you're originally from New York City.
Yes, I am.
But you came out to good old Tucson, to learn massage at the Desert Institute of Healing Arts, and you fell in love with the joint, right?
Absolutely.
And it's mountains.
Yes. At the time, I was working at an internet company, and everybody was getting laid off. We were bought out. The entire company was being laid off, and I was the last person left. I was a dispatch technician, covering basically everything from southern Jersey to New Haven, Connecticut, out to Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I said, you know what? If I'm not laid off at the end of the year, I'm just going to go. I wanted to get into something working with people, and massage seemed to be it. And Tucson at the time had the best school that was in the country.
In the country. How about that?
That's where I went.
Well, you did well, because then you started your company in 2014, wasn't it? 2014?
Yes, it was.
As a consulting hypnotist.
Correct.
Doing both massage and hypnosis with a lovely name, Soul Shine of Tucson.
Right.
That's the name of your business.
Yes.
Soul Shine. Soul Shine. Da, 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 da. Let's talk about...
That actually comes from a song. It's from the Allman Brothers.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
What is a consulting hypnotist?
Basically, it's not much of a real differentiation from what you would say hypnotherapy or a regular hypnotist. Basically, it's just what you want to call yourself. Different states, different municipalities have different rules, whether they can call you a hypnotherapist or just a hypnotist. And it's really just a designation, so you're not really lumped into stage hypnosis.
I was going to say, how does that terminology hypnotist compare with the stage hypnotist?
The straight hypnotist, that's usually more the stage hypnotist or the street hypnosis. That's what people are linking to. Consulting hypnotist, hypnotherapy, people realize it's more of a therapeutic.
Yeah, that's a fair income,
right.
Really healing modality, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas now this has become very popular, street hypnotist.
Yes.
Give us an idea of what they do,
Well, there are a lot of mentalists out there also using same techniques like Darren Brown, really kind of tricking the mind into thinking a certain way, acting a certain way, which kind of gives a false attitude toward hypnosis because, quite frankly, you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do with hypnosis.
No, that's true.
Right.
But these guys can stop you in the street and
right.
Literally,
it's
they do tricks all the time. Hallucination.
Exactly.
Right.
The very deepest parts of hypnosis trance will allow for those negative or positive hypnosis. That's where the street hypnosis will tell you, all right, you'll come out and you won't see your watch. You won't even know it's there. And the guy still has his watch on, but he looks down. He's like, where's my watch? Hey, who's got it? And they think somebody stole their watch. And that causes the show and everything else. Not anything I do.
But the part that gets me is how does he quickly hypnotize somebody in the street like that? Well, to get them that far. The watch is a watch. You can feel it, see it.
Exactly. It's all the person's mind. Especially on the street, you come up to somebody, you're watching a show, you're coming in, you want to enjoy it, you want to be a part of it. So you're willing to go down into this. It's like any other show when they have the stage hypnotist and he's bringing people up on stage. Mm-hmm. He's bringing the most susceptible people that are going under. He's keeping the ones that are playing along.
Well, this has always fascinated me because I don't know how they do it, man, but when you've got 8, 10, 12 people sitting in a row on a stage.
Right.
And then they're all doing these crazy things. I used to think, they're all actors. They're all part of it.
Well, in a way, because here's what they're doing. He's telling them that you're the star of the show. So once he's told them that you're the star of the show, well, it's not that they want to be a chicken. They just want to be a better chicken than that guy.
Really? It's down to that.
It's just like any acting role. If you're an actor and you got a bit part as like a homeless guy on a sitcom for like 5 seconds on the screen, you're going to put your all into it because you want the callback. You want to be known as the star. So these people are doing the same thing. They're putting their all into it.
Wow, that's a nice explanation of that. Thank you. I've got a much better idea now. You're also a certified hypnosis instructor.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what's the big difference there then?
Basically, I've just been trained in order to do the schooling. It's quite a comprehensive course. It goes into the history, how to do hypnosis, counterindications, things we shouldn't touch. Because a lot of people aren't psychologists or they aren't able to go that deep and understand the problems. But all we're really doing as a consulting hypnotist is allowing people to make the change that they want to make. It's locked in there. What we're doing with the subconscious mind is the subconscious mind is our status quo. It's what keeps us doing exactly what we always do. So when we want to make that change, we got to make that change in the subconscious. Because the subconscious it's our autopilot. It's automatic. Everything that we do that we don't have to think of, the subconscious is
in there regardless anyway, yeah. Do you think that overall that hypnotherapy is coming out of the dark ages?
I believe so. I think it's being accepted a lot more readily. I think a lot more people are less nervous about it. A lot of people thought that they were giving up control, that they were being told how to do something or what to do. And it's really not like that at all. It's really making the change that you want to make.
Clint Parry, I want to ask you about Junior Achievement. They're a pretty darn good organization with the work that they do. You're a volunteer with them. Well, you were, or you still are? Which one?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of time since I taught in the classroom, but I was on the board at some time and then had many years of teaching in the classroom.
Okay, so in a short paragraph for me, how do you define Junior Achievement? What do they do?
Well, the essence of it, they teach the principles of free enterprise and economics to students. I mean, really teaching them about how the world works. They start very basic from a family, individual family, up to a community, to a city, to a state, a country, and the world. And they really that's an evolution. They take each age level through, and just really teaching them how things work, how money works, how the economy works, and it's an amazing program.
It sounds very much like exactly what life's about.
It really is.
So must be some good results come out of that.
Absolutely, no question.
Gives them good founding. Speaking of family and kids, you got 4.
Yes.
Okay, and a wife, Christy.
Yes.
You're a sports fan, right?
Yes.
You want to tell us who? Oh, everything.
Well, I'm a big college fan, so for me, obviously living here in Tucson, you've got to be a U of A fan.
You've got to be a Bear Down boy, right?
That's right.
Let's talk about business. Focus HR is a Tucson-based HR outsourcing firm. Now, but you solve problems in the areas of human resources, workers' comp, employee benefits, safety, and payroll. What is your goal for these businesses that you deal with every day?
I think simply it's 2 goals, really. First of all is to reduce their overall costs and their overall labor costs. Second, really, is to reduce their employee-related liability. Those are 2 big issues that we try to focus on in overall and trying to find a solution for them. And if we can sort of help unstrap the business owner or those employees that are sort of tied down with a lot of this transactional HR stuff that just simply slows business down and doesn't earn them a dime of revenue, then we can usually accomplish that. Yeah,
it does, doesn't it? It hand ties them, basically. It ties their wrists up and their darn feet. You've got over 300 clients or so in southern Arizona. They have access to a team of HR professionals and a cloud-based HR system that saves money and time. What do your clients have to say about all of that?
Well, you can ask them, but they'll tell you, most of them, I think you talk to them, they'll tell you it's one of the best business decisions they've ever really made. Most right now, the way that HR is sort of handled right now in organizations, it's pretty fragmented, very reactive, definitely not strategic. So for them, this was an amazing solution where they can sort of liberate themselves from all this, again, HR transactional things and focus on growing their business, which is really what they're in business to do.
When it comes to all sorts of companies, have you had lawyers?
Yeah, it's
on your database?
to be honest with you, right now, I think we've have attorneys on our at one point, or if we still do.
It'd be specialized, wouldn't it?
It would. It's interesting. We've got if you look at the list of clients right now, it's so diverse. Ranging from certainly all the different kinds of construction trades. We've got retail, services, professional services. We've got staffing firms. We have a horse track. I mean, the gamut is quite wide. Which tells you again, when you have people, you have problems, and so that applies to any kind of business. It's not really specific to any sort of industry or any particular niche.
And do you turn over a lot of staff in your game, Tim, or do you manage to keep them? And if you do turn them over, is it hard to find good staff?
In today's market, it's really hard to find good staff. The odds are the good employees are working for somebody else right now. In the business that Clint does, that's a great resource for especially smaller business owners that can't afford in-house counsel.
Right.
Hiring a company like Clint's is a nice resource for those small business owners because they can get a lot of resources, training, manuals, policies, procedures, and advice for a fraction of the cost. As much as I know I'm good at my job, I'm not cheap, and I'm definitely not the cheapest lawyer in town. And I'm a big believer you get what you pay for.
Right.
But, I run a business just like Clint and Ray do, and I sometimes say to people, employees are great when they're great and they suck when they suck. And when they're not very good, you need to be able to be proactive about trying to get them back on track. And I have employers all the time that say, hey, look, I've got a problem employee. What do I do? Well, first thing I say is document. You need to make sure that you're documenting the issues. And doing that is not necessarily the purpose of it isn't necessarily to get them fired. The purpose of it is to get them back on track.
Right.
When you hired them for a reason. And presumably, if they've been with you a while, they excelled or did their job well for a period of time. And like everybody in life, there's bumps in the roads. Things happen.
Yeah. Ray, you were telling me, I think, when I first researched with you, you get every sort of person coming in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're not just talking hypnotherapy for health, a lot of stress through business guys.
Absolutely.
But even massage.
Right.
I think it's wonderful. I'd love to have one a week if I could, because it really does relax one's all the joints, all of the muscles, and all of the the meridians.
Right. It is a basic need. It's a part of us as being humans that we need to be touched, and it's something that we don't put enough value in. I think just for our own well-being, keeping ourselves healthy, relaxed, confident, I think we really need that. And if we're not getting it anywhere else, if you're single and you need, come get a massage by all means.
What are some of the advantages, do you think, Clint, to small business owners if they're going to outsource HR?
Well, the way I think I could probably categorize it maybe in three main areas. So first of all would just be money. You think about how much money right now they're spending and handling all these things. And they may have a workers' comp rate that may be a little bit high. They may have a state unemployment rate that may be a little high. That business owners are busy, right? And they've got they've got many plates they're trying to spin, and they're trying to grow a business and trying to keep track of all this stuff, and where their money's actually going in the business is tough enough. So in terms of costs, HR just costs a lot. So these things add up fast, especially when it's reactive HR that can even add to the cost. And I think the second area where they can really gain advantage is just time. How much is your time worth as a business owner? How much is your employee's time worth? If you are looking at what you're doing now, where would it be better invested that would actually grow the business?
Grow the business.
Instead of doing things that are not earning you any revenue. And then I think the third area is really risk, just mitigating risk. We live in certainly live in a litigious society, but these laws are changing. Sort of Tim alluded to that, but these laws are changing all the time.
They've got to stay abreast of that, amongst everything else.
So there's just naturally inherent risk in running a business, but If I can mitigate my risk and I can focus on business growth and I can get back some time and ultimately save some money, that's a pretty good value proposition, I think, for business owners.
So you become really like a trusted partner, a silent partner, if you like, to businesses.
Sure.
If they can
really,
rely on you and trust you.
Yeah, it's, look, business owners this day and age have got plenty on their plate. They need to find strategic partners that really understand the business and their specialty in business. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in, a CEO that I worked for once said, do what you do best all the time and do what you don't do best none of the time. And I think there's great wisdom in that, and thinking about what do you do best as a business owner and focus all your energies and strengths on that, because that's ultimately what's going to drive more revenue and ultimately build their bottom line.
Yeah, I noticed today, too, a lot of business guys, more than ever, are turning to coaches, than they've ever done before. Talking of trust and what have you, Tim, your firm attorneys have a reputation of being relentless advocates, but trusted advisors and valued business partners. How do you measure success overall?
By my client's success. If they're successful, I'm happy, I'm successful, and I'm a big believer in having an honest relationship with my clients. I'm old school as a lawyer. I tell clients, I can't help you if you don't call me, but if you call me, I promise you if we can handle it in-house, we will. But if there's a better resource, whether it be an HR company or somebody else, a different lawyer outside my firm, I'm going to refer you right away. And that's how you build trust with your clients.
From what I've been able to research, you focused on preventative counseling, objective advice, and guiding your clients towards strategies for mitigating risk, while efficiently and effectively conducting business in a legal, compliant manner. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, and I got an opening in my marketing department. You want to help me out?
You couldn't afford me, but still. Tell me,
enough.
what advice do you give new clients?
So, basically I tell new clients, you need a good, as we were just talking about with Clint, you need to have good strategic partners in your corner. You need a good lawyer. You need a good accountant. You need a good banker. You need a good insurance agent. And you want to make sure that each of those people are working together with you.
Right.
And as me as a lawyer, I tell clients all the time, you're better off hiring a HR company than you are hiring me, because they can help you with your day-to-day management, providing you those policies and procedures. You're better off hiring a good insurance agent that's going to evaluate what your risks are. Should I get an employment practices liability insurance policy, for instance?
Yeah, there's all these things to think of, isn't it? Enough insurance. What's CGL, EPLI, D&O? What's all that jazz?
Sure. CGL is commercial general liability insurance. So all business owners, once you have brick and mortar and you have clients come to your place of business like Ray does, you want to have CGL so that if somebody trips and falls
or
you're covered
slips,
for that loss.
Yeah.
And then you got malpractice insurance to the extent that in Ray's case, somebody says, hey, you put your hands on me to give me a massage and you threw out my back or something. So you might need to have malpractice insurance.
Have you ever had that, Ray?
No.
Okay, well, you've been fortunate so far then,
yes.
have you?
Well, he's just really good at his job.
Yeah, very good at your job.
Not so much. I mean, we take precaution. We're very, polite, courteous, take precaution not to be offensive in any way, not to invite that. If there was anything that even remotely seemed that way,
well, you ask people,
I would excuse
don't you?
myself.
You do questions and all of that before you start.
Absolutely, sir.
So, yeah, man, the guy's got a slip disc or something and they don't tell you.
Right. Yeah, that's totally out of my scope.
It's a bit different to you. Tim, let me ask you this. My business is doing well. Should I hire an employee or an independent contractor?
So it depends on your circumstances. One of the benefits of an independent contractor is you can avoid payroll taxes. You also don't have to pay paid sick leave to an independent contractor. And there's an Arizona statute that came out about 2.5 years ago that if you put it in writing with the person, there's a presumption that they're going to be an independent contractor so long as you meet the threshold requirements in ARS 23-1601. So for a lot of reasons, independent contractors are the right first step for small businesses. But then again, the problem with an independent contractor, you lose control. You're not able to set when work gets done, how it gets done, whereas you may need that for your business.
Yeah.
And so
but you're not giving me anything. I got no benefits. I've got no health.
Right.
You can't have everything in it.
Right. Well, that's why it's sometimes the right decision, right, as a small business owner.
So what is at-will employment? Is it different than right to work?
Yeah, it is. At will is basically an employer and or employee can quit for any reason at any time with or without notice. Right to work basically means that you have the right to join a labor union or not join a labor union. So they're totally different.
I bet you there's not many that understand that clearly.
It happens. People get confused quite a bit between the two.
What are the most common claims that you see filed or brought against employers that come in through your doors?
Wage claims are primarily the biggest claim, and a lot of small business owners they purchase employment practices liability insurance, but it doesn't necessarily cover those wage claims because you need to purchase a rider that covers wage claims. So it's important as small business owners that you talk to your insurance agent to make sure you're getting good coverage. And wage claims are primarily the biggest claims that small businesses face.
Well, if you can, give us an example.
Sure. So you have an employee that is entitled to a bonus if they hit certain numbers for your business, and then you, as a business owner, decide not to pay a bonus to that employee, for instance, and the employee then brings a claim against you for unpaid wages for that bonus that they were entitled to.
But it'd be in writing, wouldn't it?
Typically, but it not always is. Mark, you'd be surprised. In fact, I've had a case go to trial where there was a dispute as to whether the bonus was due or owing or not, because it wasn't in writing.
Yeah, that'd be lousy. I wouldn't want to work for somebody like that again. What about Prop 206? MW, paid sick time. I guess that comes a lot into your wheelhouse as well.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, it's a big issue. Obviously, Prop 206 is responsible for the minimum wage that we have in our state now at $11 an hour. It's going to jump to $12 an hour January 1st of next year, and then it'll be subject to a cost of living increase potentially every year after that on January 1st.
And what about the $15 mark, though?
So that's the federal one that's being considered right now with some step up from $7.25 to $15, but Arizona hasn't enacted a minimum wage at that level.
Okay.
And then the other part of Prop 206 is that it sets paid sick leave. It's a requirement for all employers in the state of Arizona. Whether you have one employee or 100 employees or more, you have to provide paid sick leave now in the state of Arizona. There is a small employer reduction. If you have less than 15 employees, then you only have to provide 24 hours of paid sick leave in the year. Whereas if you're over 15 employees, you have to provide at least 40 hours of paid sick leave every year.
Well, talking of sick leave, I have an employee with health issues. What can I do?
So that's a really interesting question. It can go a lot of different ways. It depends on is there illness or sickness caused by something at work, like workers' comp might be triggered with the workers' comp coverage. Do you have more than 50 employees? If you do, then the Family Medical Leave Act is going to be in play, and you're going to have to see if they've got a serious medical condition that might require coverage and protection under that statute. And are they disabled under the Americans with Disability Act? If you've got 15 or more employees and it constitutes a disability, which frankly nowadays pretty much everything constitutes a disability, with the amendment that happened in 2009,
right,
then you've got to comply with that statute, which means engaging in the interactive process.
I wonder how many business guys start off really who don't have, wouldn't know 80% of the stuff you've talked about today.
Almost all of them are that way. And it gets back to what Clint was talking about earlier. Most business owners have a great idea or are able to provide a great service like Ray. So they're good at that. And as Clint said, do what you're good at 100% of the time, right? Mm-hmm. But they have no idea what any of these other issues are. So if you're going to go into business with a partner, for instance, you want to form an entity of some kind so that you protect your personal assets from the business if there's a claim made against the business.
Right.
And then you want to make sure you have a good partnership agreement if you have a partner. So just like a marriage, everybody goes in it thinking it's going to be awesome, right? But then if things go south, it's good to have a written agreement so that you can deal with the issues when they do go south.
Well, that's life, isn't it? I mean, Clint, you meet a lot of guys. You deal with a lot of men and women in business today. How do most business owners deal with the HR issues they're up against? What do they share with you? What do they...
Well, I think from our experience, it's very reactive. It's certainly not proactive. It's not strategic. They have not planned for these things, thought about these things, and so usually they're responding to a crisis, to an issue that comes up, employee conflict, or some other thing that's has happened that they didn't really plan for, and so they'll. Certainly, they can try to get some advice from friends if things really have ended. That's why we got great attorneys like Tim that you can call. Sometimes I've even heard they call their CPA. But ultimately, a lot of they just, I would say they're kind of in the state of unconscious incompetence. They just don't know what they don't know, and understandably so. They have. They don't have really any background or experience. They've got an idea, they've got a product or a service, and they're doing really good at that, and that's what they're passionate about, and that's why they got into business. But and then, of course, then things they grow, and then they start bringing on employees. But a lot of these things they just don't think about, and they're just trying to keep the business growing and keep prospering, but have no idea at all in terms of the realm of at least human resources, and that's a big term there, and all that entails.
You're listening to Tucson Means Business on the Tucson Business Radio X network, and we're broadcasting live here from the Stewart Title building, the corporate offices on Broadway. And we're proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club, with beautiful rooms for weddings or for any function at all. You could just about, whether it's a bar mitzvah, a birthday party, a wedding, an anniversary, whatever, between the pavilion and the other rooms now at the beautiful Rincon Grill, you do have private places to have these functions, and there's plenty of room. Check it out. Speak to Mackenzie Taylor. Give her a call and see what you'd like to do. And the food is amazing, and they'll do what they want to do for you. And we're speaking with Clint Parry, Focus HR. We have Tim Medcoff from Farhang Medcoff, and we have Ray Urchik from his sweet little business called Soulshine. He'll just wreak your neck and break your back anytime at all. But I tell you what, you come out fit. Aren't you, mate, eh? Outsourcing. What does HR outsourcing look like? Clint, break it down for me.
So I think the best way, the best visual image perhaps to break it down would be looking at sort of the employee life cycle. You first start off with bringing on an employee. You go out to the hiring process, and we call it talent acquisition as the formalized
talent acquisition
term in the industry. But ultimately you're trying to find good people, and that's not easy these days, especially in record low unemployment. We're not.
It's funny, isn't it? It's either a feast or a famine, right?
That's right.
In the industry,
and many times it's sort of right now it's a kind of a spray and pray sort of approach, and they'll put out as many sort of ads and as many places they can, and just again pray they get the right person. But
we're talking about here Arizona, but what, the ads are all across the country trying to find staff, right?
No, it could be,
and bringing them in. They have to bring them in.
When you want somebody and you're desperate enough, especially if it's certainly a high level position, many times you can't be just landlocked here to Arizona. You got to look outside. So really outsourcing HR starts with the acquisition of talent, and how do you do that? And there's some strategies and some technology that can really make that process much more efficient, and just getting some best practices in from some experts that really know. Then you onboard your employees, you bring them in. Of course, they got to go through and right now that's a pretty paperwork intensive process. And thankfully now there's some technology that can just make that an electronic workflow. So you have people trying to fill out an I-9 that sometimes takes an associate's degree to figure out. So you don't want to then make a mistake or skip the box. And they've got, of course, got to do their tax elections, and then they want you to have them review an employee handbook or any other things that you want to. There's an onboarding process, and then ultimately get them onto payroll. And payroll isn't rocket science by any means, but the first way to tick off one of your new employees is not to pay them correctly. And,
right.
But so once they're on the payroll, then you look at employee benefits, sort of the next policy, and there's a whole litany of administration around that, getting them. There's an election period, and looking at getting them, before they're actually can get enrolled onto the plan. Sometimes that starts right away. Sometimes you have a 60-day waiting period, and then once you get them on the plan, they've got to select the plan, and there's trying to help them through that. And Of course, things change, right?
A lot of
they
steps.
get married,
Yeah.
they get whatever.
A lot of steps. A lot of steps. You call people back. You do the right thing, do you? Because a lot don't.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think what kind of distinguishes us, we're a local firm, like the other gentleman here. We're sort of a boutique firm where we get really deep, and I think can build some great relationships with our clients. We're a local number. You talk to a live person when you call. So I think that relationship really makes a difference.
I think it does too. It's very, very important. Tim, I want to let go an employee, but he's over the age of 40. What should I do?
So the first thing, you want to make sure you got good documentation, and even though it's maybe an at-will employment situation, you still want to make sure you've got good, legitimate business reasons for the action that you're taking, because if a lawsuit or claims brought at some point, a year to a year and a half later, somebody and the judge or jury is going to be looking at that and analyzing, did you have a good reason to let them go, even though they're at will? Because at the end of the day, the people that sit on juries oftentimes are all employees too, or have been employees at some point in their career.
Right.
And then when they're over the age of 40, if you decide you're going to let them go, you need to evaluate, am I going to offer a severance or separation package to that employee? And if you are, then you need to make sure that you have what's called protections that the Older Workers Benefit Protection Act requires. So, for instance, you got to give the person 21 days to review the separation agreement, 7 days to sign it and then revoke their signature, and some other protections that the statute requires.
Right.
All of which is important to have a lawyer look at that as opposed to cut and pasting something off the internet, which I know Clint in his world sees quite a bit.
Really?
Yes.
We do.
Oh, yeah? See, Ray, no staff, period.
Basically, no.
You know,
Man.
well, I think your better half or the other half is your partner in the business.
Well, actually, just like Tim here, I started the business with my wife. And the business has worked out better than the marriage. We did get a divorce, but we do still both have the business together. I guess we love the business and what we do a little bit better than each other. And business is still doing great. One thing I do want to ask you guys is when I sit down with a client, I have an intake form and they tell me what they're coming for. And a lot of times as I'm discussing it with them, it's not exactly what was in the form. And I think a lot of people, when they're applying for a job, I always wonder how the whole resume thing goes forward now. Back when I was doing it was, what paper would you put it on? What font were you using? You know, is it a good weight paper? They're going to recognize that. And now everything's online. How do you weed through all that?
Good question.
To get to someone that really is someone you want rather than just, hey, it looks good on paper.
Well, I can jump in and take a crack at that. You know, right now, you'll get. I know some of our clients will get hundreds, literally, of resumes, and it's almost impossible to kind of weed through all of those, at least manually. But the great thing about it now is that we've got some great technology that will sift through, will scan and pull out certainly keywords and really allow the hiring manager, individual, the business owner, whatever that is, to kind of sift through and look for key things that they really want to extract out that are important, whether it's experience or certain skills that they have or whatever. But it makes either they can put in sort of certain criteria that can again sort of sift out a lot of the things that the noise, if you will, to get down to the few vital ones that they really want to take a look at.
Yeah.
And I would say that before you even start analyzing the applications that you get, is sit down yourself and figure out what do I want out of this person? What are the key factors that I think you need to have, traits, skills, attitude, whatever it is, to succeed in this job.
Right.
And identify that before you sit down and start looking at the applications that you received. Obviously none of us have the formula or secret to the success. If we did, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, right? We'd be marketing that and making a lot of money. But if once you've established what's important, then it's sitting down and asking the person about specific questions that will allow you to evaluate if they meet those traits or characteristics that you believe you need to succeed for that job. And then there's some other tools that you might be able to take advantage of, like personality tests can oftentimes be a nice tool to have in your quiver of arrows.
Right.
And then potentially having them just come in and work with a client and have you observe to see how, if for your profession, for instance, how are they? Are they really a people person or not? Or are they just putting on a show? And then a couple other things that I do is I typically have them go to an interview, drive. How people drive tells you a lot about how they are as a person. and then also, how do they treat staff at the restaurant? Because if they're dismissive of whoever's helping them, that might be a character flaw that you might not pick up on just a in-office interview.
Right.
So just a couple other tips for you.
There's things you never would have thought of, right? What type of ailments for you, Ray, mostly do your clients come in for help for these days?
Well, there's a lot of the usual, the weight loss, the stop smoking. In fact, I'm a little surprised. A lot of hypnotists have been not wanting to do the smoking, and I don't understand that, because to me, I mean, a doctor has always said, if I could do one thing for you, it's to get you to stop smoking. And to get people to stop smoking is so important for their health. I feel it a privilege. So
it's a wonderful thing.
I don't really discourage any reason to come. If you want to make a change, no matter what that is, it's in everywhere. Whether it's sports, learning enhancement, just the way you look at yourself, the way you feel about yourself. It's all a progress, and it's all just letting that subconscious know that this is who I want to be. This is the right person.
So what made you study to be a licensed massage therapist along with specializing in therapeutic massage? I mean, this includes Swedish, Shiatsu, Thai, and Reiki too, right? You do Reiki as well.
It has been a bit of a process. I was in an internet company, like I said, and I just really wanted to work with people. I was just working with routers, zeros and ones, and I was like, I want to work with people. I thought about chiropractic. It was a little too much school at the time, and the massage was a fast track that I could get in there and start working. I did some Reiki, moved on, and the hypnosis came as an accident. A friend of mine, he just wanted me to go and do some street hypnosis. That was his goal.
Right.
And I said, I ain't taking a class. I don't have the time, the money. I'm a busy guy. I can't do it. But like any friend, he wore me down. And when I went to the class, it was a regular hypnosis class.
Right.
And once I could see everything that was used for, I was amazed. And in the business sector, CEOs, they go to hypnotists, working on their own confidence, their memory retention. A lot of these people have to go in front of people and talk. And that is the biggest fear that there is. It's a bigger fear than death.
Well, I meet a lot of people in this line of work, of course. I'm just surprised half of them, can't put two words after each other, and they got top jobs. It amazes me.
Right.
What about you're a chairman of the NGH Southern Arizona chapter. What's the goal there?
Well, all the hypnotists in the area, I'm trying to get them together to meet semi-regularly. It's a little bit of a trick to do that. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I want to make sure we're all doing something that's good, something that's useful to the community. I don't want there to be bad hypnotists out there. It's a kind of closed thing. It's not like a doctor where you go into this doctor and you're like, I don't really like him. I'm going to go to another one. Most people, they go to a hypnotist, and if it didn't work out for them, well, hypnotist is wrong. Hypnosis doesn't work.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Instead of
you
maybe
paint one brush with everybody, sort of thing. Yeah,
and not to blame it on the hypnotist either, because basically even if everyone is hypnotizable, okay, it's a natural state, you have to be willing to go into that state. If you don't trust the person you're with, you're not going to go there.
Right.
If you have something, nope, I'm just not going to let it happen, it won't. So it's putting the person at ease, gaining their trust, making them know we're doing something that you want to do.
Well, the funny thing is, from what I understand, we actually go into hypnotists ourselves in undertrance. Maybe 2-3 times a day.
Absolutely.
On our own.
Right.
And subconsciously.
Right. The key example is if you've ever driven somewhere and you're pulling in and you don't remember that drive, that was hypnosis. That was you hitting your autopilot. Your body knew exactly what to do when it hits that red light, and it did it.
There you go. Now, you're starting some classes, right?
Yes.
This is at the center. Where is Soulshine, by the way?
Soulshine is 5405 East Pima.
East Pima.
Which is just west of Craycroft.
Okay. Now, what's the idea behind this? What are the classes going to do for people?
Well, the classes I'm doing are certification classes right now. That's if you want to become a hypnotist. The class actually certifies you, so you're a member of the NGH. The NGH does give support, has reference, and really stands behind their people a little bit better than most of the other organizations that I've heard about or been into contact with. And it's really for anybody that wants to help themselves. Even psychologists, doctors, dentists all have reasons that they could use this to help their own practice. Even people in business that want to help their employees could do some hypnosis to help their employees to grow and get better confidence, better abilities.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So it's pretty diverse, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
The whole business. It's coming close to a close. I want to ask you this, Clint, if I may. By the way, listeners, all of the information and the bios and photographs of my wonderful guest today are online. They're up there forever on the Tucson Business Radio X site. And when you go to the site, all you've got to do is just go through, press on which particular podcast you like to listen to, and this one perhaps, Tucson Means Business. It'll be the latest one at the moment. And then you can have a good look at the addresses, the website addresses, all of the links, phone numbers, everything else you need if you'd like to speak to them personally. How does Focus HR differentiate itself from all the big guys? I want to ask you that, Clint, in closing, basically.
Well, I think for us, we see our clients as sort of the big fish in the small pond, and maybe vice versa. And so, every client for us is important, of course, but we just developed that really personal relationship with them. We're you dial a local number, you get a local person. I think we're a custom shop in that we are not trying to fit somebody into a certain 1, 2, or 3 option that doesn't simply work for them.
For the sake of getting
them. For the sake of getting the transaction.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think when you look all in all up at that, we're here to provide a solution that's going to flex and grow with them as they grow. And again, you're joining a market here, a lot of other clients through over 300 companies here locally. So you're accessing that kind of buying volume and leverage to really help you grow your business.
Fascinating. Well, you wouldn't be doing as well as what you are, www.focushr.net, and that particular one. It's interesting, your world, isn't it? Very interesting.
It is. And it's changing. It's dynamic. Sort of, and Tim alluded to. We, again, seeing continuous change in the laws and
right.
continuous regulations coming out, and the world of business is just dynamic as it is. So how ultimately a business owner has got to figure out how they're going to manage all this and deal with all this.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, my last question for you, Tim, is this: given all of the legal pitfalls. And we've probably scared away half a dozen today, I'll tell you. How can a small business owner survive?
Well, it comes down to the bottom, at the end of the day, delivering a superior product or service. If you focus on doing that, your business will succeed and you'll enjoy what you do. Then you need to hire good professionals, good advisors, partners that have your back, that are really concerned about advancing your business and your interests. It's one of the reasons why I love Tucson. It's 1 degree of separation here, and we're a big, small town with a lot of entrepreneurs, as Clint kind of alluded to, that have great ideas like Ray and provide a great service. And they just need somebody that has their back, that's going to give them good advice to, as Clint said earlier, help them understand what they don't know or don't even know that there's that pitfall out there.
Right.
And sometimes it's as simple as making sure that you're talking to the right insurance agent and that you've got right insurance, so that if a peril happens, that's why we buy insurance, right? When you need it, it's
there.
It's there.
Cover your butt. Do all the things Tim has suggested. Tick them off, the T's, as they say, the I's and the T's. www.farhangmedcoff, all one word, .com. Ray, somebody, thought about being a hypnotherapist. They want to help people. Maybe a massage, I'm not sure. What would you advise them?
I would say give me a call. I'd love to talk to anyone about hypnosis. It's been something that's just so
it's not
rewarding.
for everyone, though, right?
Perhaps not, but I have to say that I've been rewarded so many times with just helping others. I've had some success stories that just really stand out and just have really made it so worthwhile. And I'd like to share that with anyone.
Yeah, good on you. Well, you'd feel pretty proud of yourself, wouldn't you?
Thank you.
No, that's nice. You've helped somebody. You've stopped pain. You've stopped them smoking.
Right.
They could live another 10 years, 15 years longer.
Certainly.
You've maybe got rid of phobias for them.
Absolutely.
All
That's
sorts
a
of
big part
things.
of it.
I think it's a wonderful thing. Good on you.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Great show today, and I'm very grateful to Clint Parry. Your designation is what now, Clint? What are you? What do you come under? Your position per se at Focus HR?
So, business development manager.
Business development manager. All right. So you're the front line out there, right?
Front line, right? In the trenches.
Good on you, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Clint. It's been a pleasure having you. Tim Medcoff, lawyer extraordinaire, and particularly for businesses. Man, you know a lot of stuff. But he's expensive, but he's worth it.
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily expensive compared to my competitors, but definitely expensive compared to an HR consultant company like Clint's.
Tim, you pay for what you get.
Definitely.
There are no shortcuts, mate, are there?
No, there certainly
There
are.
are not. And Ray Yurchik, thank you, mate. Soulshine, get that back fixed, neck fixed, soul fixed, eyes fixed, whatever you want. It's all happening out there. And you've been listening to Tucson Means Business. 3 terrific business guys doing it, getting the job done. We'll see you again.